Hello, everybody, and welcome into another Flyers news and rumors here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and as always, joined in by Justin Giampietro here. Justin, how's it going?
It was going pretty good for the Flyers until recently, until their last game. As we're recording, they just finished a loss against the Penguins. Probably worst case scenario. We'll cover a little bit why, but they had a 3-game winning streak entering the game, and rivalry game. It was a big game. They lose, but they're still in a pretty good spot in the standings. They are 14, 8-3. Kind of ahead of schedule, kind of ahead where most people would have expected them. They are on track to be a wild card team at this stage. It's pretty tight, but they are in a good position to kind of keep this thing going if they sustain their pace.
Yeah, I mean, they're quite a bit above 500 now. All the videos we keep doing, it sounds like they're not playing as well, but they actually have a pretty good record. I mean, they have of course, have their issues still, and they still have to work through them. But yeah, like you mentioned, they lost 5-1 against the Penguins. Also, injury to Tyson Foerster, which didn't look very good, to his shoulder. And, it might be a bad injury. We're not sure what the extent of it is yet, but might be a long-term injury. And the thing is he's playing pretty well lately. In the news and rumors he put out, he didn't have his own section, but he was part of one that he was very productive. So, I mean, it could be a big loss for him.
Yeah, definitely. It didn't look good. He took a shot, went right to the locker room. The last time I've seen someone do that for the Flyers was actually against the Penguins. It was Jamie Drysdale, hurt his shoulder, and he was out, I think, like 2 months. So obviously not the same injury, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm no doctor, but I do think that looks long-term. That doesn't look good to me. You hope that it's just a short-term thing. He comes back as soon as possible, but it didn't look good, and that's very bad for the Flyers. He is a crucial player for them on the power play. He scored a power play goal in that game. He is very big for them at 5-on-5, very defensively oriented, but he can also contribute offensively. So that's just one of Tocchet's guys, and losing that and getting nothing in return, they will presumably have Grabenkin and Delorier in the lineup at the same time if it's a longer thing. And if that's the case, then you're really losing something there with Foerster.
Yeah, for sure. And then the thing is, like you say, playing really well as well. So that's a big part of your lineup that could potentially be out for long term. Hopefully, it's not as much as you said. I mean, it's 2 months. That's a big term to be out. So hopefully, it's not that serious. But yeah, shoulder injuries they can get pretty long term. So we'll hope for the best for Foerster, and we'll probably get indication of that pretty soon in the next couple days, most likely. All right. In response, maybe not in response to the injury, but there is rumors that the Canucks, of course, if you're following the Canucks or, in anything, they're around the news, the rumor mill all, last couple weeks, because they put a memo that veteran players are available. And Kiefer Sherwood, because unrestricted free agent after this season, he is going to be a hot commodity, probably, before the deadline, maybe in the next week or so, he might be traded. And Rick Tocchet was his coach last season, and he had a career season. He's on pace to have another one this year. Potentially, Tocchet's looking at the Canucks as, some play. He's not the GM, obviously, but he has input of what players to get. Do you think Sherwood is a guy that could the Flyers maybe acquire?
It would kind of go against everything the Flyers have done to this point, buying high on an older player, not old, but he's definitely not young, and it would cost them a lot, probably a first-round pick, considering what he's doing right now, and the type of player he is, very physical, can score goals. Those guys are expensive, and if you're going to trade that for him, you're probably going to extend him and probably a long-term contract. So that just goes against the Flyers are still kind of rebuilding thing. Um, they have the assets to make it happen. It just wouldn't really make sense for them. And if it did, that would probably be a mistake. I mean, you're competing now, but you're not going to win a Stanley Cup this season. At least I wouldn't think. Um, Best case scenario, you get to the playoffs, maybe win a series. I don't think anybody expects you to win a Stanley Cup, but that move would kind of indicate otherwise. So if they were to do that, I wouldn't be thrilled with it, but the connection makes sense. Tocchet and his Canucks players and his Arizona players with Dvorak being signed in the offseason, that's always going to be a thing. But I'm just not sure this is one that they should pursue.
I mean, he is a Tocchet player. He played a lot for him last season, and of course had his career year. He led the league by a crazy amount in hits. He is a Tocchet player. I mean, that's just the identity, the play style. It just fits. I wouldn't be surprised if that's, the Flyers are a team that would go after him in free agency as well. I mean, if they don't acquire him in a trade, it would be an extension, I think, involved in it, especially if they give up a first round pick or prospect or whatever it ends up being. Sherwood has cooled off offensively a bit lately. I mean, he scored most of his goals in the beginning of the season, a very short stretch of time. So, I mean, his value might be dropping a little bit in that aspect of more of an offensive guy, but he still brings that physicality, the ability to change a game in that way. So, I mean, he might not be worth a first rounder anymore, but I still think he could get a pretty big value, and the Flyers would have to give up something that maybe, like you say, go against that philosophy, I guess, they're going after right now. So we'll see if Sherwood, but I think he'd probably be top of the list for Tocchet and to put forth that he wants on the team. All right. Well, I mean, there are other guys that it's not just Sherwood. I mean, he's looking at all the Canucks, all the guys that he coached last season. What other guys do you think? I mean, there are some bottom six, they've made in the rumors that they might want, not from the Canucks, but just in general. What are the other guys you kind of might be on his radar?
So the Canucks are an interesting team considering they have kind of some of their own depth issues, I would argue. They've brought in guys to kind of fill that with injuries and whatnot. So they're not quite, I wouldn't say the best team to kind of like pluck assets from because, you have your stars and then everything else in my eyes. But there is one guy that we actually talked about before we started recording. Teddy Bluger might make sense. The Flyers have indicated, or at least it was in the rumor mill, that the Flyers could use a depth center, and that would definitely fill it. Bluger has played that role for a long time now, a few years now. So if you want a proven commodity in your bottom six, maybe instead of Rodrigo Abels, who's been the 4C for the Flyers, he hasn't played a lot of NHL hockey. He has pro hockey experience, just not a lot of NHL hockey experience. So maybe they want a more higher end player in that role, guy who can even play on the PK if you need him to. That could make sense. That would be the guy that I would be looking at. Everything else, I'm not sure about because the Flyers don't really need defense at this stage. They would kind of probably gravitate toward a long-term option in that top four, for example. That's just kind of where they're at as a team. They're not, I wouldn't exactly say they're rebuilding, but they're in that we want to get younger and better stage at the same time. So not a lot of older guys you're going for. If you're going to go for a star, it's probably a younger guy, and that's kind of who I think they'd have on their radar. Otherwise, I'm looking at cheap depth guys just to fill in and maybe change a playoff game if they get there. That is a little bit premature, but that's kind of what it's looking like. They're going to be competitive until the end.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the thing is yeah, the Canucks don't, and there are a lot of their guys that I think teams would want are injured right now, including Bluger. He is not back with the team yet, playing. So I mean, there's, and even a guy like Derek Forbort, like you said, most likely they're not going to be going after defensemen, but he was also a Tocchet guy. He really liked him last season. So I mean, there are some more. But like I say, a lot of them are injured. So it's not really, they're not going to be able to trade them right now anyway. But I think Sherwood's the top of the list. And Bluger could make sense once he's healthy as well. He's on the block. Of course, he's also unrestricted free agent coming up this offseason too. So he would be one of those guys as well. All right, to finish, I got to jump back to prospects here. And Jett Luchanko has been on, a lot of these videos. He's been very prominent, and he was traded to the Bulldogs not that long ago. He had 2 assists in his home debut, so already being productive for his new team. What have you seen in his new digs, I guess?
Well, it is, I would say, pretty unfortunate luck. This Bulldogs team had 0 regulation losses before he was traded there. Now they have 2, and he has only played in 3 games. That's just, I mean, that's pretty bizarre, especially to the last team they played. They played Oshawa, and they are, I believe they are the worst team in the OHL, and then they lost that game. So super bizarre, but he has played how you'd expect. He had 2 assists in that home debut, as you mentioned. And it was early in that game as well. I think it was in the first 5 minutes he had those 2 assists. So he got off hot, and that's a really stacked team. At 2 regulation losses, regardless of when they came, that is a very dominant team that is poised to go deep in the playoffs, make a Memorial Cup appearance potentially, and maybe win the whole thing. This is easily, to me, the best team in the CHL landscape. Maybe that could change, but they got a lot stronger with Luchanko, and that experience is going to be, I think, really good for him if they can go on that deep run. He hasn't really had the chance to do that yet in the OHL, so going to the playoffs and having an impact there maybe helps him out when he makes the transition to being a full-time pro next year and beyond. He'll be eligible for the AHL, which I think that's where he'll be at minimum. If he's not in the NHL full-time, maybe he fluctuates, but at minimum, I expect him to be in the AHL, playing top 6 minutes with the Phantoms. So, you look at a guy like Denver Barkey, who's a rookie with the Phantoms this year. He won the Memorial Cup last year, and that experience has been good for him, I think. So having another guy kind of go down the same path would be nice.
Sure. I mean, he's with a winning team. I mean, obviously not lately, 2 losses, but they were dominant. I mean, one of the best teams in the OHL to this point of the season. And it's unfortunate it comes there and all of a sudden they start losing. It's like, was it me? I don't but I'm sure they'll get back on track. I mean, Luchanko's a really big piece to add for that team. So we'll see. They'll start winning again. But yeah, it is a little bit weird that he comes and they lose a couple games, but yeah, at least he was productive in one of them. All right. I mean, we'll see if the Flyers can bounce back from that 5-1 loss to the Penguins. They've had a really good stretch here, and but we'll see. Hopefully that injury isn't too bad either for Foerster. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. But make sure to check out everything at thehockeywriters.com. We got all great articles throughout the website. We've got Substack newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to that, take a look and give this video a like, comment if you have any comments on anything that we've talked about in this video. But until our next one, we will see you next time.